Hey guys, it's me. Today I have an interesting topic to talk about. I actually have a topic. I didn't wrote anything down because um I just I kind of know how to talk about it. So I'm just gonna start now. So it will be about my manga Stormberger, and I guess it will be really interesting to people. So I think if it would make more sense if you read my manga before, so you can check out the link to my webtoon in the channel description of my YouTube channel. Because then I think you understand even better what is going on. Even though I think it's still hard a little bit to relate to that whole thing because the story is right from the beginning, and you have to understand that as an author, I already have much more story planned, so I obviously know much more about the story, and for that reason, I know much more what is going on, than you guys, because I have to draw through all that. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about is that I had a decent amount of time where I didn't give a fuck about my main character, Luro, so the girl that has vitiligo. She appears in the first chapters already. Luro Steinbrecher, and I was like, yeah, I don't care about her right now. And now it's a total opposite. And that was not like that at the beginning. So when I created this character, so the story is already 8 years old, right? I worked a lot on it. And I was always really excited about Luro. She was right from the get-go the main character, and I was really invested into her story, and I really liked her as a main character. And I really liked her, and I was really excited to tell her story, And in the last 2 years, I was putting some new characters into the story. A character that I would even consider the kind of second protagonist. I don't know if you can say it like this. That is the cyborg that I was putting into the story. He already appeared. The kind of his name is Dexter. Maybe I'm gonna put a picture of him into the video. So those are the two characters I'm talking about right now. And I had this character in my mind, and I was really invested into his story. His story was really interesting to me. And I was so invested into his story that I stopped caring about Luro's story. And I stopped caring about her, and I was thinking that her story is kind of boring and that nobody would care about it, which is not true. I think her story arc is really interesting, but Dexter's story arc is just something you never really saw in anime before, comparing to Luro's story arc, which is kind of she's kind of going a shonen seinen route. I just would say just really well done. I hope I can do it well. I have it well done in my mind, and his story arc is kind of different. So for you to understand what is actually going on, Luro's story arc is a little bit the main character who is starting really weak from the beginning and becomes strong over time because she's training and she has to learn about friendship and stuff. This is kind of something we already know from shonen, but I guess a lot of people are invested into this kind of story arc because there are also a lot of anime who do that kind of theme, but they're not doing it well. So I think people are always invested in shows that kind of do it well. And I mean, even if you already saw something already, you can still watch the same kind of concept again when it's well done, because you like this kind of trope. And Dexter's story arc is super different because he is already a strong character, because he is already an adult. He is around 25 years old, and he is an entertainer. He is a kind of YouTube personality, even though I don't call it YouTube in the story, I kind of call it different, but he is a comedian too, or like an entertainer, comedian, whatever, and he wants to have a lot of power. That's already really different than what you usually have as characters in stories. I don't think you have a cyborg that is a comedian and entertainer personality in a story. And you don't really usually have that. So this is already interesting because it's really different. And furthermore, he has a lot of power. He's really rich. And this is also unusual because usually we get to see characters that are weak, that don't have anything, and they get there because they're just working hard, and it's all about working hard. It's not about money, you know? And he is a really rich motherfucker, and he also has a lot of women. And his story arc, so this is already a spoiler for people, and yes, I'm gonna spoiler you sometimes if I want to, because I want to do that. Yeah, so because the thing is, I think I can never finish my story anyway, so I'm gonna talk about some ideas that I wanna do, and I think that is alright, because in the end, you hear those ideas, but seeing them done in the story is still different, you know? Like, it's not the same when I just tell you the idea. Like, when you see it actually delivered in a story, there's much more going on. So, what I can say for him, this is a little bit of spoiler, he's falling in love with a woman, and he struggles a lot because this woman is really hard to get, and she doesn't seem to care about all his money and stuff, which is a totally different experience because most women that he dates are usually also into the fact that he is powerful and that he is rich. They like that, you know, and she is someone who doesn't care about this, but he doesn't really know what is going on. And I would say, if I would compare to his story, it gets a little bit into the direction what Chainsaw Man is doing, even though it's not like Chainsaw Man at all. Like, he's not like Denshi at all. But from the kind of story, I would say it's a little bit like a story like Chainsaw Man, the direction Chainsaw Man goes to. While Lyra's story arc, so we're experiencing Lyra's story arc and Dexter's story arc, and Lyra's story arc is totally different because she is a shonen character, and she has kind of like more like typical shonen stuff going on. It also has a little bit of a seinen vibe too, but it's still something we kind of know, you know? And you could say, like, why don't you make her story arc more unique and more interesting? Because I'm not forcing uniqueness on my story. I just create my story how it is. If it should happen to be unique, then it's cool, but I'm not forcing anything on it. So, for that reason, for a decent amount of time, I felt like, yeah, this story arc is kind of shit with Lyra because it's not something that is really special. We already know that kind of, and nobody cares. But I don't think that's true. I think people will care because we also care about stuff that we already know. But if it's well done, we still care about it because we want to. I mean, a lot of people want to experience kind of the same stories. This is why shonen is so famous. Because we like those tropes, you know? And there's nothing wrong with liking tropes. When they're well done, you can... Well, that's cool, because then you have even more of it. When you're a big fan of this kind of trope, you know? Now I'm at a level where I think I care a lot about Luro. And I care also about Dexter's story arc, but it's just really hard for me to pull it down. it's not easy to handle two characters at the same time. That's definitely not easy. Two protagonists. I also have to handle a lot of other characters because also a lot of side characters get a lot of story arcs too. So I think the story will progress really slow because I have to get into every detail of every character because there is a lot of story to tell. But I don't care. I think it will be fun to read. So I don't know if videos like this where I just randomly talk about my story are interesting because it might be kind of confusing for people who don't know my webtoon, or who even for people who read my webtoon, it might be quite kind of confusing because I'm talking about stuff that didn't even happen yet, you know? But I'm still gonna talk about this. I don't care if this is hard to follow for people because I just want to talk about it, you know? It's really fun and maybe people are still interested in listening about my ideas and how I'm doing as an author. I think that is still interesting to people, you know? And maybe it makes you even more excited about my story. So, yeah, I'm gonna talk about more about this in another video. I just don't have the energy right now to do a long video. So, I don't know why I did 1 hour videos before because right now I'm just doing 11, 12-minute videos or 15-minute videos. But yeah, I'm gonna talk more, maybe more about the details why I had struggles with Luro and what I hated about her in another video. So, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate everybody of you. I'm feeling much more motivated to continue this YouTube journey. And yeah, thank you very much. See you in the next video. Goodbye.